Oh, hello. Okay. I, I feel like I have to comment about my Facebook Live every single time I come on. I gotta stop doing that. But it's the camera angle changed. So, and yesterday I did a Facebook Live in a Facebook group, and it was very old school kung fu movie where my voice was not attached to my lips moving. So hopefully it's working good today. I'm really excited to share an experience that Michelle Bordeaux and I had yesterday. I'm staying with her in Dominican, and we went breathing together. And I thought about it this morning. I want to talk about it. There's also details that are just super personal that I'm not going to share, but I want to share my overall experience because it was really, really good. It felt actually transformational to me. And I've done a ton of transformational work, so I think it's really fascinating when you can go into a space for about an hour and a half, 90 minutes, and create something magical. So it's called Naya breathing. If you have you ever heard of that? If you have, comment. Let me know. I'm curious because now I'm going to go home and figure out where I can do this practice with some support before I start doing it just on my own. I can do some of the techniques by myself, but some of them you want to be in a class with an instructor for. So I knew I wanted to do it. Michelle had done it a few times. She had talked about it with me without a lot of detail, just, hey, I do this breathing class. And just as an aside, it's probably my favorite thing to say when she's talked about it, or I'm telling people I'm going breathing. Great. Do you need someone to show you how to do that? Yes. Yes, I do. Because I'm so, like, we are humans, we're such a shallow breathers. We're not actually, when we take the time to really take a deep breath. And if you haven't taken a deep breath, I invite you to do that right now. Just a big old deep breath into your body. So I knew I wanted to do it. I had no clue what I was getting myself into. And actually, as I share this story, I would love for you to think of the situation in your own personal life, to say, when was a time where I did something just because I knew it was right. I couldn't even explain it. Michelle's like, I'm going breathing, and my body was like, yes, let's do this. Before my mind could go, I'm sorry, we're going breathing? Like, okay. Because I'm a little sassy. So that's typically what would happen. So we go, when we show up, and I've met this woman. Her name is Sabrina, and I've met her a couple times since I've been on the island. She's lovely. And I felt comfortable already, so that was a bonus. And we were sitting there, and she was explaining what we were going to do, the process, things that might come up for us, might not come up for us, all of these things. And we were sitting on the ground, and my mind was already starting. We talked about the nervous system, and it was so good because she was talking about, and I get them confused, so I'm not going to say the right one, but she talked about the one system that is our flight or fight, right? Our reptilian brain, caveman brain. And when she was talking about it, I was sitting there and I was listening, and then I was like, oh, the floor is uncomfortable. This is this. And I kept noticing, instead of paying attention, I was actually paying attention to things that did not matter in that moment. And that was really interesting, being the observer of myself and noticing these things. And as she was explaining what was going to happen, and we were going to breathe for an hour, right? And I'm like, I can't do this. I don't like doing this. The floor is uncomfortable. I actually don't think I want to do this. I'm stuck here now. What have I gotten myself into? Every time I try this, I don't do it. I can never. This isn't a true story, but those none of these are true stories. These are just my brain, my flight or fight response going, no, you can't do this, you can't do this, and taking over what my body was very clear. My body was clear we wanted this, and my brain was like, nah, are we sure though? Because like this doesn't really sound super appealing. And as she was explaining it, all of my fear, excuses, bullshit stories, bullshit limits, beliefs, crap coming up, and I do know better, so I could witness it, and I found it fascinating as it was the stories were popping up as I was sitting here, and that I don't want to do it. I think another story. Oh, the story was like, I can't do this. Because the things she was explaining sounded incredible, and I remember thinking to myself, I struggle. Like I have to be very intentional to get out of my brain and into my body and into my heart. It is not an easy practice for me. It's a practice. So she explains it, and I have all of those excuses, and still I stay on my mat, and I choose in that moment, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get through this hour. She's the expert. A lot of stuff she said I understand, like through emotional intelligence and through leadership and through personal development training. Like a lot of the things were very familiar. So I showed up not knowing. I showed up beginner's mindset. I showed up when she said something and I said I know. I was like, oh, that's really interesting. That's the first thing I tell my clients. Notice if you're sitting here going, I know. Do you? So I just chose to be the beginner. I chose to be open, and I made a choice in that moment that I was just going to show up, and whatever she said for me to do, I fully trust that she knows what she's doing and I don't. I don't know shit. It's one of my mottos. And in those situations, of course. And so I was the student, and I got to just really sit back and enjoy. I did enjoy it. And so through the process, she said what would happen is, as we were going through the instructional breathing that she was putting us through, things were going to come up in our body. So an emotion might come up because our body stores emotion, and we would feel an emotion, and it could come as a discomfort or a pain. You would know it when you feel it, sort of thing. And of course, it was such a beautiful reminder that when those things come up, go there. So that she would say it'll come up in a part of your body, and the invitation was to practice this breathing technique and pull the breath into that area, and in order to release it. So it feels like a tight muscle that you go in and you're like, let's massage that out, let's release that muscle. Or the other thought was, if you felt something coming up for you, go there, especially if you resisted going in that emotion. So for me, it was crying. If I would notice the waves of emotion coming up, and if it was a wave of emotion that was for crying, I got to go there where normally I would resist it. Normally I'd be like, do I really need to cry? I'm fine, it's fine. So really going into that space in my body to release that emotion, and if the tears came, then they came. If it was any other helicopters going by, okay. If it was any other emotion, just allow it. Allow the wave to come up. And my other promise to myself was just to be present in my body through the whole duration of it. And it was amazing being present and focusing on my breath, creating oxygen all in my body. Oh, and the other piece, and I should have started with this and it just popped in for me, was, oxygen and air being our life force, because that is the one thing. We can live with food for a period of time, we can live without water for a period of time, but our breath, we can only live for a few minutes without it, and we don't get it back. So it is the ultimate life force. And so it felt really great pulling in all the air and getting all that life force running through my body. And then, of course, at the end of it, I don't know that it's an of course, but at the end of it, then really receiving a download of what being present to what feelings were coming up in our body. And we were there was 8 of us, and every person had a different experience because we shared one word, and it was amazing that just the variety of experiences that we all had through something as simple as breathing. There's collective energy, which was always amazing, but really allowing that experience to happen. And I wanted to share it because we all go through this, and it might not be breathing, and maybe you're stepping into coaching, or you're thinking about wanting to step into that next level of your business. Those are the things that are going to happen, just like the breath work, just like this workshop did for me. Things will come up for you where you might have those bullshit stories, or you might even step into a program, and you'll have these bullshit stories come up, and they're not the truth about you. They're not the truth. The truth is the original desire, that original vision. So being really grounded in what you want. And so I wanted to share my experience because we all go through it, and it's just a matter of recognizing it and having the tools that we need in order to move through it powerfully, in our own power, and in a way that feels really good for each and every one of us. And that was what I wanted to say today. If you want more information on the breathwork, send me a message. And if you are ready to finish 2020 strong and you want some support in doing that, I'm opening up 2 spots for one-on-one coaching with me, and I would love to have a conversation with you about it. So send me a message. You can just private message me, and we can talk about it. Okay. Have an incredible day, and I will see you tomorrow.